What's up guys, Stardust here. Well, that's awkward, it's been a while since you've seen my face. Anyways, in this video we're doing the first Could This Be Meta? Could It Be Meta? Now, in this segment we'll make 7 support cards for an existing archetype or deck in the game. And, well, my goal is to design cards to make the deck meta. It's up to you to judge if they are on par. So tell me in the comments if these seem like it would make the deck meta. The goal is to make it at least a tier 2, tier 1 contender. Contender not guaranteed, and at least rogue. So with this support the deck should be able to top. That's basically the idea. Now I didn't think of this concept myself. I actually took this idea from Underground YGO, a really good channel that I've seen do some stuff recently again. They used to be inactive for a while, so make sure to check them out. And for this specific one, the Red Dragon Archfiend one, I want to give a shout out to the Red Dragon Archfiend Discord. I'll be linking it in the description. Since I kind of indirectly took some ideas, I mean I've reviewed the cards there for a while, and they're just great people, so shoutouts to them. So, for this video I've made 1 main deck monster, 2 spells, and 4 synchros. I think the deck definitely needs some new synchros. Now, at the start of the video I'll also explain why the deck isn't meta at the moment, or at least from my point of view. So there's a few reasons for Red Dragon Archfiend. One, they're kind of fragile if you're able to hit their Crimson, or just if you're able to hit their starter cards that have a really hard time getting going. They also just don't have that strong synchros. Like, they're really good in specific situations, but they could be better. They also have gaps in some levels, like level 11. They don't have a good level 4 target outside of Whirlwind. That's not a tuner. And yeah, a small bit of consistency issues. I think if we address these issues, the deck has a lot of potential. So with that in mind, let's talk about the cards I created for this archetype. So first off, we have Resonator. Now, this card is both a Resonator and a non-tuner with its effect. It's a dark level 4 fiend type tuner effect monster. If you use this card you control for Synchro Summon, you can treat it as a non-tuner monster. If you control a fiend type tuner monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is in the graveyard, you can banish 1 other Resonator monster from the graveyard, special summon this card from the graveyard. And if you do, this card becomes the same level as that monster. And of course each effect is once per turn. So what does this card really do in practice? So first of all, it's a level 4 Resonator that's also a non-tuner, meaning that the new search spell, Command Resonator I believe it's called, can search this card from your deck, since it's a Resonator in the name. But Resonator Call can also just search it. It's ideal for both these cards. The deck really needs level 4 non-tuners, but the tuner level 4 isn't exactly great, so to compensate and help with that, to complement that, the second effect modifies level and special summons it back from the grave. I think this is like the perfect card that I could get. Another level 4 that just summons itself and gives you some kind of advantage. I think that's what the deck desperately needs. Although they're kind of in a good spot already with the recent attacks like the head trigger and stuff, but hey, it would still be very nice for the deck. Now, as I said before, I gave them 2 spells as well. A normal spell and a field spell. So the normal spell is called Road of the King, at least I think that would be a cool name, reference to the movie from the anime. You can discard 1 level 4 or lower fiend monster, draw 2 cards. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 or lower fiend monster from your graveyard, but negate its effects. You can only use each effect of Road of the King once per turn. Now, maybe this would be strong in certain decks like Infinity, but hey, it's not like Infinity's meta at the moment. Fabled could also use this really well, although it discards for cost and I don't think Fabled will work off these. It might need an additional restriction that locks you to Synchro if it would be too powerful, I'm not sure. But yeah, in general, Resonators need an additional way to get draw power themselves. Due to Synchro Resonator, it's already very easy to gain Resonators that you don't really use in your hand anyway. But it also helps initially digging into your Crimson Resonator, so that really helps. I think a draw spell would be very good for the deck, hence this card. Next card I want to talk about is a field spell actually, Cinco Palace. So when you activate this card, you can special summon 1 Resonator monster from your deck. That's it, no real restriction, unless you come at the end of the card. During the turn where normal or special summoned, your opponent cannot target Resonator or Dark Dragon Synchro monster you control with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of a Resonator or Dark Dragon Synchro monster effects. You cannot Synchro summon monsters from your extra deck to then use any of these effects, except Synchro monsters. You can only use each effect of Cinco Palace once per turn. So, once per turn, check, locking you to Synchros, check. It has some generic abuse potentially, but the main idea is simple. It just prevents your opponent from just tracking you with hand traps. And it also gives you some ability to go second, and it gives you some consistency. Maybe it's a bit too much for one card, but then you look at what meta decks can do and it's probably fine. So now I want to move on to the Synchros. I got a level 7, a level 8, a level 11, because they don't have one yet, and a level 12, because I need a new boss that's not useless outside of your own turn. So starting off at level 7, we have the Red Exploder Dragon, which already implies its origins. It's a combination of Red Rising Dragon and Exploder Dragon Wing. 1 Fiend Tuner and 1+ non-tuner monsters, kind of like Red Rising Dragon. When this card is special summoned, you can special summon 1 Resonator monster from your deck. Just boom. You know, need some kind of resource replacement. If your opponent targets a Dark Dragon Synchro monster you control with a monster effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and if you do, negate the monster effect and destroy that monster. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. You can only use each effect of Red Exploder Dragon once per turn, and if you use any of this card's effects, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck that turn except Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. Some restrictions in place to assure it doesn't get too generically abused. A nice callback to Exploder Dragon Wing, one of Jack's original cards. And also throwing in a reference to Red Rising Dragon and making it very playable. There are times where I want to go into level 7, so a playable level 7 would be nice. And the extra grave effect just helps. Now, the biggest issue right now with Red Dragon Archfiend is that you don't really have a reason to go into Scarlight or the original Red Dragon Archfiend, because Chaos Ruler is just too strong of a card. Now, I kind of tried to make a new Red Dragon Archfiend retrain, yet another one, that kind of fixes this issue and addresses it. So, I like to call this card Scorched Red Dragon Archfiend. It requires 1 Fiend Tuner plus 1 non-tuner Dark Dragon Synchro monster. Very specific materials, especially compared to the original Red Dragon Archfiend versions, which are generic material-wise. This card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it is on the field or in the graveyard. When this card is special summoned, you can target 1 Resonator monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster and 1 Resonator monster from your deck with the same level. You can banish 1 Resonator monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Seems fair, right? It's a bit on the strong side, I do admit, but once again it needs to compete with Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler can revive itself, and it can activate 5 in order to dig for another Resonator pretty often, because a lot of the Resonators are actually dark. So this card needed to be really good to compete for that slot. Maybe they don't need to level 8, maybe they can just get used to Chaos Ruler, but I think it's cooler if they actually have an option, a Red Dragon Archfiend that's level 8 and worthwhile. The next card is the level 11 Synchro that I mentioned before, Scorched Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. 1 tuner plus 1 non-tuner Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. So, once again, basically a throwback to the old Hot Red Dragon Archfiend monsters. Dark Dragon Synchro monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's spell and trap effects. If a Dark Dragon Synchro monster you control battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster has its effects negated during the battle phase only. So, basically a true boss monster, something the deck desperately needs. Not only does this basically make them immune to spell and traps, which sounds overpowered, but then you realize you need to go into level 11 Synchro. It's kind of hard to do and it doesn't have any negates. They can still use their Pot of Desires and stuff. Just the Dark Ruler Lemore and similar cards that just don't do anything against you. And if they try to crush them by battle, they certainly get their effect negated. This ensures that the Red Dragon Archfiend monsters with high attack are actually effective, because they can't just run over it with Ball Sword. They need to try really hard to get rid of your fields. I think something like this would be cool, not just needlessly throwing on restrictions or negates on this card. I think it would be cool to have a boss monster that, you know, empowers your other big Synchro Dragons. Because idealistically, Red Dragon Archfiends as a deck just overwhelm your opponent with multiple big Synchros, and this card would definitely amplify that strategy. And finally, the new level 12, I suppose, because, well, Supernova, if you ask me, I've made a video about this, it's very underwhelming. Crimson Hellfire Nova Dragon. It's the most overkill name ever. It would probably be called Crimson Doomfire in the TCG because Hell is a no-go unless it's Burning Abyss, which is certainly okay. Anyways, it requires 2 tuners and Red Dragon Archfiend specifically. So you can use the new retrain, but yeah, basically needs one of those. This card gains 1000 attack for each banished tuner monster. It cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effects. So a reference to the original Red Nova Dragon. And an attack modifier just like the original one, except it works with banished. Why with banished? Well, the following effect is why. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish 1 Fiend tuner monster from your graveyard, and if you do, negate activation. Now, this might sound broken as hell, especially when compared with some of the other cards. But keep in mind that Appaloosa is a legal card, and nobody's really calling for the ban of that card anyway. And this does require a lot of effort to summon. This makes it so that it becomes really hard to break your board once you made it. And I think that's just cool. Just a strategy built around summoning big Synchro Dragons. I mean, that's something we don't really have in the game at the moment. I think that's a shame. So yeah, those were my suggestions, my cards for Red Dragon Archfiend. This is how they could be meta, if you ask me. How do you agree? Tell me in the comments. Any decks you want to see next? Tell us in the comments as well. Hope you guys liked this video. It was a lot of fun to make. It's something different for once, you know? And of course, once again, shout out to Underground, to Spidey and Kisame. They make really good content. They were one of the biggest inspirations for me to start YouTubing in the first place. So this video was long overdue. So yeah, hope you guys liked it. StardustYGO signing out. Peace. And of course, have a nice day. And thanks for checking out my content. I mean, holy shit, there's so many YouTubers who checked out mine. I can be negative at times, but I do really appreciate you guys, so thanks. Peace.